just come back to the room so we can start. This is not something that is new, but it's something that can help all of us quiet down, because mindfulness today is a business, a skill, and a tool. When you think about making major decisions, nobody makes decisions like that quickly. We consult with each other, we consult with partners. But when you make decisions about how to react to a person in front of you or to your employees, even when things go wrong, I want you to consult with yourself. Start telling yourself that you have room to respond in a way that you're proud of. I'm sure if I ask you, how many of you have written something, said something, sent a message about something that you wish you could do it again in the last 3 weeks? How many of you would raise your hands? We all have opportunity to redo what we did in the past. So what I'm saying is, first rule here, no judging yourself, no judgments. So what you're going to do for me is to start accepting yourself, who you are, as you are. There is no need to start judging yourself and hiding, because we all have flaws. Hard to say it, but we all have flaws. So let's start this session with no judgment and the feeling that we can all grow, because growth mindset is an overused expression. But the idea is we're all learning. If we stop learning, life is going to be very boring, right? So let's start learning how to relate with each other differently. Because I bet you, the moment we go to the market for talent and people notice that we are going to value every inch of their skills, their intellect, their spirit, and their joy and energy, taking them as a real person, we are not going to be worried about winning. They're going to come willingly to us, right? We need the talent to be excited. How many of you really deliver your best when you are being hammered about the quarterly results? How many of you go home excited after having a meeting about results? I doubt it. Maybe when you're winning. So think about that when you have your calls with your teams when they failed. We talk a lot about failing fast. We think we are so good about this. We are not. Failing is still something that has a lot of fear underneath and creates a lot of anxiety. But when you react the right way, you get the best of our people. Belonging. People need to feel that they belong here. Sometimes we don't make them feel that way, because we talk about things that just pertain to us, because that's our experience. If I'm a fan of football, I'm going to talk about football metaphors. If I am somebody from another country, I will be connected to my culture. And every time we just relate it to ourselves, we are excluding others who don't belong to your context. So think about context. If you don't take anything from here, think about context. Each one of us have a different context. In your families, your experience personally, at work, in your communities, in your country, your unit, your service line, we have so many layers. And I love what we heard there. Technology has never been as fast as it is, but this is the slowest it will ever be. The same goes for ourselves. You know, complexity will continue to grow. Complexity in environments, complexity in our business, and complexity in human relations. Because now people are much more aware of the transparency that we used to hide. Think about social media. Do you think your employees need you to learn what's happening? I think it's the reverse. I think we need to go to our employees to understand what's happening. Think about this. What happens to you as a leader? If I grow up knowing that leadership is about power, what do we mean by power? We're going to talk about this. So think about all these complexities. They are making us very unsafe, very insecure as leaders, And honestly, of course we are a little not sure, not comfortable. So let's try to make this acceptable. Once you accept yourself as a person who is afraid sometimes, somebody who is very courageous, I know you are, but somebody who recognizes the vulnerability that you have, so you don't express your anger as a result of fear. Can we agree on that? Fear is always underlying anger. Think about that. The last time you lost your cool, do you think you're proud of yourself? I doubt it. Usually we react quickly and with anger because we are afraid of the consequences of what the event is happening in front of you. So think about that. Positive leadership is not new, as I said. Growth mindset. Growth mindset comes from the idea that, and we always quote this study, but basically it's about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Some people have the experience in their lives that lead them to believe that they are who they are, they know what they know, their values, I'll be authentic, but we use that word wrongly sometimes. Being authentic is not being rigid. Being authentic is knowing your values, what you believe in, and always acting guided by that North Star, which is being proud of acting the way you act in the world because it's aligned to your values and who you are. So growth mindset is the ability to hold that truth and still be adaptable to the context you are in. So you see, it's complex, but the idea is very simple. Don't lose the sense of self, of your values, but don't be rigid. Because the moment you set in stone your assumptions about people, about your clients, about what we need to do, about who you are, and then you start becoming very defensive when we tell you there is a change coming. Services. I urge you to start thinking that actually you can learn to lead differently. You can learn to accept reality without holding back. Because the moment you start resisting, that's the moment when you lose your power. Okay, I'm going to tell you this because this is so essential. You lose your power when you're resisting something that actually is paralyzing you. So when you think about change that are coming and you start resisting, because we all do, allow yourself to resist. Cry about it, bitch about it, but then come to the realization that your best way out of this is overcoming, learning more than you can, and possibly influencing the shape that this is going to take. That's the excitement. So growth mindset is not about always growing the business. I hear a lot of people talking about growth mindset. It's growing the business. It's not about growing the business. It's allowing yourself to be continuously learning, because we all do much better if people notice that you're not the know-it-all. Agility. This is so confusing, right? Agility. People say agility is to be fast. It's not about being fast, but it's about building the agile organization. What do you think happens to us in an agile organization? We lose our power a little bit. It's not us who are going to dictate how things get done. We tell them what needs to get done. They prioritize the funnel, the famous funnel, and there is a limit to capacity. Can we agree on that? Maybe I can free you up from this pressure. There is a limit to your capacity. You might have noticed that. There is a limit. So start thinking about your teams that you can trust. At the end of the day, do you really believe that you can control their behaviors? If you do, you're so mistaken. I give a referral to a therapist. If you really believe that you can control other people, we don't. But we can instill a sense of trust and respect just by listening. Just by listening. If you don't do anything else, just listen. Because people want to be heard. The work. And then problems come up, you take the responsibility to solve, because that's why you're a leader. Then you step in front of them. Otherwise, you're behind, just helping them. You just step in the front to take the bullets. That's leadership in the 21st century. Your teams are going to love you for that. Openness, empathy, courage, I talked about this. Let's talk about transparency. Positive performance tension is the ability of you pushing your people to the limits of their skills with support. Psychological safety. There are 2,000 business books on leadership just published in January. I saw that quote, 2,000 in 1 month. So it's not about reading books, forget about books. Start listening to yourself. Go to the mirror and just start sensing, I'm aware of few things, but am I aware of the anxiety that's coming through? Where is that coming from? Usually comes from the idea that you're not doing enough. Usually comes from the idea that you're guilty about not meeting your family responsibilities. Usually comes out of guilt. Guilt leads to shame. Shame leads you to hide. Can we agree shame is useless? It's so useless. Don't do that to yourselves. And don't do that to others. Shaming management systems don't work. What works is for you to understand that, yes, we feel guilty about missing somebody's birthday. We feel guilty about missing family reunions and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you put a stake on the ground on those key priorities, these things are non-negotiable. Birthdays or something. Put in your mind, some things are non-negotiable. Things will fall into place, even when it's in the worst timing. But if you don't do it, the consequences are much more permanent because you start dealing with the shame. When you grow shame and embarrassment, it's hard to recover because then you don't show up. I think sometimes we don't need to speak, but our actions speak louder. So if you are committed, put on LinkedIn. Make your pledge to be more open-minded. Make your pledge to be somebody who is learning about all this. You don't need to know everything, but I think sends a message because all the energy wasted, as Paul said, is wasted energy. And sometimes people don't feel that they belong here. They are going to go somewhere else. There are 10,000 reasons why people are leaving us. And one of them is this one. They don't feel that the environment's safe for them. So let me just finish with a few things here. Power is something so pervasive and yet is invisible. And that's the piece that's very tricky about power. When you get in a room, when there is somebody more powerful entering that room, what we usually say is, your cognitive ability goes down to zero because you're so preoccupied with what's going to happen with that power coming in. Am I going to be targeted? Am I going to be punished? Am I going to be told something public that's going to make me embarrassed? So think about that because you do have power. You know, and we go to other countries sometimes, then you realize how people regard you as a powerful leader. When you go to a different country, you see that people treat you as royalty. You feel like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had that power. It doesn't matter to qualify that power because the best power are social power, not the power that you use for your benefit, is the power you use to move your teams forward. That's social power, is a different motivation. But power exists and people feel it. We want as many people in this room to feel that their power being used to empower others and make the world a little more equal in terms of the agile way of thinking. Team leaders are going to switch project-based work. We are not even thinking about the workforce of the future. If I put that layer on this talk, we are going to be talking about, hey, executive leadership might not exist in 10 years. Executive leadership is not going to be the highest ranking in the organization. Maybe it's going to be something else. So think about power as something that really something that we strive to manage with honor and pride. Because you do have power. But just be aware of that because, look, when you have it, it activates the approach that we think that we can order and things are going to get done accordingly. It reduces your inhibition. So when you don't have it, look what it says. Increases fear, anger, and silence. It lowers the IQ, motivation, risk-taking, innovation. Of course, would you take a risk in front of somebody that you perceive as punishing? Would you take a risk in front of somebody who might criticize you and the first word that you pronounce? I think all this comes to play here. But power is good. I'm not saying power is bad. Power is amazing. The power of one person changing the world, the Gandhis, the Martin Luther King, there is power in there. But they use their power for social good. And actually, if we start thinking about power as leveraged across, imagine if everybody is empowered in the sense that now they know that they can make things happen. Now they know they can come with the confidence. That's another one that we are struggling, confidence. Somebody once said to me, confidence is not about knowing everything. And I truly believe in that. Confidence is about the ability to learn. If you trust in yourself that you can learn, I hope you feel more confident after today. Bring power to the level of confidence. Confidence, nothing to do with knowledge, but with your confidence in learning and ability to solve. And I know you do. So it shifts a little bit. It's up to you. So I'm not saying that you have to be paternalistic about people, but you have to empower people to be who they are and seek the opportunities to help themselves. I don't believe in taking responsibility for others. Sometimes we are we take the emotional impact of others for ourselves. We do refresh our workforce. You tell me always, you ask me to build relationships with people, but then you ask me to let them go. How does that work? Why would I be emotionally connected with somebody and then have to let them go? I tell you why. Because that's what you need to do to feel that you're being honest with yourself. If you connect to people emotionally, you are helping them make sense of the world. Think about that. You are helping people make sense of the world. But you cannot take the pain from others for yourself. Otherwise, you are going to be depressed very quickly. What I urge you to do is to be present, witness the moment, and help them process. And be with them. But you cannot take their pain. So it's a shared responsibility of us as leaders to motivate them and recognize them and create the environment that we respect them. Teaming is so much fun. When I feel connected emotionally with my team, it's such a wonderful experience. But it comes with pain, right? Along the way, relationships come with the pain. So there is no all rosy pictures anywhere in a company. But you can have an incredible, gratifying experience as a leader. That's what I'm saying. If you put people on flow, if you make people feel that they belong, if you make this environment a little more positive, the army that goes against the enemy is much stronger together than each one of you alone. So collectively, we can make this environment really exciting. I know pockets. There are teams that are so exciting. They have low attrition. They bring friends. But what I need you to reflect on is, can we focus on things that we can control? Where do you spend your time and with whom? Can you control your tone, your teams? Who do you bring in? Who do you let go who might be too pervasively negative? And the tone you use in every relationship, every interaction, every meeting.